I actually had 3 different job interviews over the summer. I'm pretty sure this counts as progress. Hello and welcome to Season 13, Episode 1 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kev, and coming up on today's episode, 2 pretty similar matches. We're playing Bournemouth at home in the Premier League, and then just Real Madrid in the European Super Cup. Fairly similar challenges there, I think. No worries. As I alluded to in the intro, I did actually get some interviews over the summer. As you can see, I'm still Ipswich manager because none of the interviews went to plan. But I got an interview at Tottenham, which I actually pulled out of. I suspect I might have got that job, but the board offered me a big fat new contract to stay. So I withdrew from the running for the Spurs job. They've taken my salary up from £28,000 a week to £40,000 a week. So that's about £2 million a year. If you recall, 6-7 years ago when I first joined Ipswich, my mansion that I live in only cost me £1.5 million. So I think it's safe to say I'm probably upgrading the mansion. Although, what I might do is just pay the mortgage off on the mansion, because I am hoping that I'm not going to have to be at Ipswich much longer. Surely the big boys are going to come calling. If we beat Real Madrid today, they might even offer me a job. That'd be very nice. I then had an interview at Man City, I think. Jose Mourinho retired from his job as manager of Man City. I got an interview, but I was sat there in the reception of Man City, just looked up. Oh, Pep Guardiola there. I thought you were Arsenal manager. What brings you here? And he's now Man City manager. Did mean there was a vacancy at Arsenal. So I went over to Arsenal and had an interview there. And they didn't give me the job either. But that's the first time since I was managing Exeter that I've actually got any interviews. So I'd like to think another successful season, I might actually get a job at a big club. But what it means is we have another season to have a run at Ipswich. As I mentioned in the last episode of last season, the Europa League final, if you haven't seen that yet, you need to check that out. That was a good one. But I have finally made it onto the favoured personnel list at Ipswich. Or I had. Tell me I've not come off it again already. Are you kidding me? I've won the FA Cup and the Europa League. I was on favoured personnel. I'm now not on there anymore. I was hoping another good season we could jump up to maybe being an icon, work towards becoming a legend here. No, but apparently Jonas Knudsen, who was he was all right in the Championship, he's an icon. Lasse Viggen Christensen, okay, I'll let you have him as an icon. Haidara, Tavernier, I mean, they love Championship fullbacks. They're all icons. Look at the favoured personnel. These are all my players. But apparently, I'm not as important to the history of Ipswich as this lot are. Not happy. Thierry Ambrose has moved on again, by the way. He's now at Real Valladolid in Spain, where he is now their key player. So hopefully he's going to get a hat full of goals for them and enjoy winding down his career over in Spain. Media predictions for us this year. The pressure's starting to mound a little bit now because the media actually think we're going to have quite a good season. So we actually got mentioned in the pre-season betting for an outside shot at winning the league. The media are predicting 6th place. This has to be the season where we actually qualify for the Champions League through the league. Obviously, we're in there this season anyway because of what went on in the Europa League last season. We have no chance of winning it. It's the Champions League. So for us to be back in there again next season, we need to qualify properly. As far as fines and points deductions go, we did get a fine and we didn't get a points deduction, so we had to pay something like a £2 million fine. But because we qualified for the Champions League, the board threw a whole lot of money at me anyway. We're still £31 million in debt, but I'd like to think a season of Champions League football, especially if we can make it out of our group, should see most of that be wiped away. But they've massively increased our wage budget. We've now got a wage budget of £2.1 million. We're only spending £1.8 million. So we've got plenty of wage budget to spare. And we have actually agreed a new contract with Modou Fall. But he hasn't signed it yet. So it means that most of the team that we're playing today are currently sulking with him in a sign of solidarity. Because he wanted a new contract, requested a transfer. And now all of our attacking players are sulking because they think he should have got a new contract. So it's going to go great against Bournemouth today. As far as transfers go, we've had a busier summer than I was anticipating. We've spent £58 million, brought £17 million in. So if we have a quick look at the outs first, we let Alexis Sokolov go back to Russia. He's gone to CSKA Moscow for £5.5 million. We've made a slight loss on him. And to be honest, he's probably going to turn into being quite a good player, but he just wasn't happy at the club. He's played 10 games in 2 years. He'll probably be back in the Premier League at some point because he does seem good, but he's just not as good as Zabala or Dane, so he had to move on. David Martin, we already knew about. He's gone to Athletic Bilbao. That was arranged halfway through last season before he got into our side and started being any good. And we've absolutely mugged Brighton for Pascal Leader, who's gone to Brighton for £4.1 million, far more than I ever expected to get for a player who's played 5 games for us in the last 2 years, last 2.5 years really. He was a regular until he got his slip disc and just never made it back into the side. And I'm really happy to be able to recoup more than half of what we paid for him as a up-and-coming German superstar. And now he's a bit of a has-been who's not been any good for a couple of years. He'll probably turn into being quite good as well. But enough of that, the ins. And firstly, and hopefully most importantly, we have signed Franco Valverde permanently. I enjoyed this transfer because he left Manchester United to join Ipswich because he wanted to play Champions League football. And it just made me smile. We've paid £20 million for him. That was pretty much the top of where I wanted to spend on him. We've probably overpaid slightly, but he is an Argentinian wonder kid. He did have a good season for us last year. He was instrumental in the Europa League run. So he's going to come in and be a really important player in our midfield this season. So glad to have him back on board. Matthias Bosmans comes in as a replacement for Sokolov as our backup centre-back. He's a 21-year-old Belgian, comes in from Anderlecht, £10 million. Again, we've probably overpaid ever so slightly, but he's got bags of potential. Exactly the kind of player we need as a backup centre-back, because there's no point bringing in someone as good as Dane and Zabala, because they'll just end up the same way as Sokolov. They're going to be unhappy that they're not playing. Bosmans has come in knowing he's a backup player, so if he doesn't play much this season, who cares? He's not going to get a sulk on. If he does start to develop and come good, then we have another top quality centre-back on our hands. So can't really lose from that deal. Jerinel Vossabelt has come in from Arsenal, 21-year-old Dutch midfielder. We've paid £13 million for him, and I think this is a bit of a bargain. They picked him up from Feyenoord, 5 years ago for just £1 million. He's then spent the last 3 years back on loan in Holland, where he's done okay. Looking at his stats, though, I think he's a much better player than his recent form indicates. And I think as another player to come into that, into our options in midfield, where we did struggle a little bit for strength in depth last season, I think Vossabelt, he's going to be there. I mean, look, he's as good as the bulk of the players that we've got, and it means we're not going to have to play the likes of Teixeira and Kuhl unless we really, really, really need to. Marion Lukacs is another young midfield player. This one's very much for the future. I imagine he'll go out on loan at some point. 18-year-old Romanian. Brought him in because being only 18 years old, if we keep him for 3 years, he counts as trained at Ipswich. And at the moment, when trying to pick our Champions League squad, we only have one player in our first team squad who was trained at Ipswich, and that was Johnny Vaughan. I thought Dane was here when he was 18 as well on loan, in the same way as Vaughan was, but apparently not. So we need more players coming. If we're going to be a Champions League club long term, we need more players who are trained at Ipswich, and Lukacs will fit into that bracket. As will Denis Stanciu, another 18-year-old Romanian. He's going to be our fourth choice centre-back this season. He came in from Dynamo Bucharest, where he's played a bit. Doesn't look anything remarkable. He had a really good season for the B team when he was 16, 17, and he's just there as a fourth choice. Again, if he gets any game time, it will be a chance for him to develop. If he doesn't, it's not a massive issue. We might be a little bit light. If we get an injury to Zabala or Dane, we need to hope that Bosmans comes good and quick. But I'd rather be in that situation than being in a situation we were in last season where all the reserve players had a grump on and wanted to leave. Gordon Fotheringham, another one that we're signing for the future, and he has oodles of potential. 17-year-old Scottish midfielder, comes in from Aberdeen for just over £1 million, 4.5 stars potential, and he's going to become a very, very good midfielder. We'll look to send him out on loan this season. He's not going to get any game time. But good to have more young, top-quality options in the club. And then the last one, this is another one of my famous panic buys. We obviously already lost David Martin as an attacking midfield option. Abdul Haq Nouri tore his cruciate ligaments in the first pre-season friendly. He's out for most of the season, which left us with only Johnny Vaughan and Larsio at a push, able to play in that trequartista role. So I had a look around. This was the best current ability attacking midfielder that was on my shortlist. Alexis Meza, 29-year-old Argentinian. He's never played for Argentina, and he hasn't really played very much at all throughout his career, really. Looking at this, he had one season for Napoli where he played a lot of games, and it was also the best season he's had in his career. So he's 29 years old and only played 150 games, but he's been at the likes of Boca Juniors, Paris Saint-Germain, Napoli. He's been at good clubs sitting on the bench, so I'm happy for him to now, for 10 million quid, come and sit on our bench and be a backup to Johnny Vaughan. That seems like sensible business to me, certainly until Nouri's fit again. And that's your lot. That's our transfers. So the team that we're going to be playing today against Bournemouth, you can see I've changed some of the squad numbers around a little bit, just because I wanted to. Actually, it was all about giving Aaron the number 14 shirt again, but it turns out he wanted the number 9 shirt, and Yusuf wanted the number 14. Fall was wearing the number 14, so I gave him the number 7, so Yusuf could have 14. Mainly because at that point, Fall was looking like he was on the way out of the club, so I just gave him a randomly selected vacant squad number. It looks like we might be able to keep him now, so he's going to be a striker wearing number 7, which I quite like. So this is the team that we're going with. Matt Lee is going to be in goal. Ben Garrett hasn't left the club, so he's going to be our reserve goalkeeper for this season. A back four of Will Leach, who's now our first choice left back, and Lazarov at right back, who's now club captain, and then Zabala and Dane together at centre back. Zabala wearing his new squad number 6, moving over from the number 2 that he had worn previously. In midfield, we've got Chris, Fritcher and Yusuf. Valverde would be in for Fritcher if he was fit, but he's not. He's picked up a little bit of a knock. He's going to be fit again, probably in time for the Real Madrid game, but no point risking him against Bournemouth. And then Johnny Vaughan is playing in behind Arendt and Fall. They played well in the last game in the Europa League final. Did they? Or was it the semi-final? I know they've had a good game together recently. I can't even remember. It's days since I played that game. So I'm going to give them another try together against Bournemouth to see if that's the combination we want to use against Real Madrid. If they're rubbish, Larsio is waiting in the wings, but struggling for match fitness, as a lot of this team are. We've not played as many pre-season friendlies as we normally would, and I hope that doesn't cost us in this early part of the season. So, let's go and play Bournemouth, see how we get on. This is going to be a good indicator of how our season's going to be. The last couple of seasons, when we've done quite well, we've got off to a good start. If we go and lose at home to Bournemouth today, it's going to be a long, hard season. We want a good winning start, we want good early form, and we want to be pushing for a Champions League spot from the off. We don't want to be having to make up a whole load of ground later on in the season, because we still don't have a particularly big squad to allow us to do that. We've got plenty of spare wage budget now, so as and when more transfer budget arrives, we can probably bring in another 4 or 5 players into this squad, but we just don't have the money to bring them in now. So if we can qualify for the Champions League again, wow, Modou Fall's just scored after 3 minutes, showing off his new number 7 shirt. See, it's another money-making exercise. Got to buy new shirts now. All the players have moved around. I'm a monster. Yeah, I've completely lost track of what I was saying. Let's just enjoy this Modou Fall goal in 3D, because it looked like it was a bit of a screamer. So Chris slots the ball into Vaughan, knocks it onto Aaron. Aaron slots Fall through. Fall on his weak foot, just sticks it in the top corner. Yeah, give me that all day long. I want those two to get in a who can score the most goals competition this season. Or, failing that, who can stay fit for longest competition would be equally as useful. Will Leach has already picked up a knock. I'm not going to rush him off the pitch. It's only a stubbed toe. Walker Peters is on the bench. But to be honest, if Leach has got a stubbed toe now, he's probably out of the Real Madrid game. It's only in a couple of days' time. So I may as well just save Walker Peters for that. And Leach should be fit again for next weekend, hopefully. So, fairly uneventful first half. We're 1-0 up. But not a lot else has happened. So hopefully we'll go and push on a little bit in this second half. While I have your attention as well, You may have noticed from Twitter or from the FM Scout YouTube channel that I'm going to be playing in the FM Scout Cup. Let's see, never mentioning that again, because as soon as I do, we can see the goal. But I've been drawn to play as Inter Milan in that. Now, as you've probably figured out after 13 seasons of this, I know nothing about real world football. I'm a posh fan. I know about League One. I couldn't even name an Inter Milan player for you. So what I need you to do in the comments, I need you to do this fairly quickly, because I'm playing this game over the weekend. I need you to tell me what system to use with Inter Milan, what players are any good. This is what happens when I talk about the FM Scout Cup. But please, give me some tips, or else I'm going to be humiliated in the first round of that tournament. I kind of just want to take my Ipswich team along and play them. At least I know what I'm doing. That being said, this lot can't even beat Bournemouth, so they'd get hammered anyway. But yeah, let me know in the comments. Tell me all about Inter Milan. Right, I'm going to take Leach off now, because I'm going to blame him for those 2 goals. Because he's injured, so why not? This is not going to be... If we lose to Bournemouth, this is a terrible, terrible start to the season. Right, traditional 68th minute substitution. I've got no one to bring on, really. Can this fella play in normal midfield? He kind of can, so I think I might bring him on for Fritcher. In fact, we'll bring Vaughan back, and we'll do this. Or will we do that? No, we'll have Vaughan back there. So we'll try that. I mean, we need 2 goals. We should be winning this game. Just coming back for a draw at this point isn't good enough for the aspirations we've got for this season. Oh, we're in, but they make the save. I mean, we've not created a clear-cut chance yet. We've got 2 incredibly good strikers up front, and they're just not firing together. I think it might be time for Lazio. Although Fall has beaten his man. A new boy, Mesidoro, how do I say his name? Has brought it back to 2-2 with 15 minutes to go. This game is not yet over. So Fall getting himself into a good position there. Squares the ball, and I mean, Mesidoro and Aaron were queuing up to knock that in. And the new Argentinian chap got there first. Right, it's Lazio time. He can come on for Aaron. He's not match fit. I probably should bring on Thomas. Thomas is now thinking, hang on, I'm match fit. I've been playing pre-season. What's Lazio doing there? And the simple answer for you, Wilfred, is that's Lazio. You're not going to be ahead of him in the pecking order. He's Lazio. Have you seen the man's hair? The hair alone means he's worthy of a place in this side. Right, come on, lads. We need to get a winner here. This is silly. I can't even remember if Bournemouth are any good. I don't remember them flirting with the top half of the season at any top half of the league last season. Oh, for goodness sake. In fact, I think they're newly into the Premier League. So here we are, a Champions League club, losing on the first day of the season against a team fresh out of the Championship, who we already have beef with over the Joshua Emanuel nonsense from, 5 seasons ago now? 4 or 5 seasons ago? If you don't remember what that's about, watch our promotion season from the Championship. I think it was like season 8 or 9. Oh, right, now an equaliser is enough now. I've changed my tune. Just whip this in, Lazarov. Falls... We're going to lose, aren't we? This is stupid. Corner comes in, pops back out again, just to get the ball into the area. We need a goal. Lazarov, do something special. He finds Lazio, but he's offside. Even with the Lazio haircut, it's not enough, and we're going to lose on the first day of the season because everyone's thinking about Real Madrid. What they don't realise is we're going to get hammered there as well. What a stupid start to the season that was. Not at all impressed. This is what happens when you spend all pre-season off at job interviews and not really paying attention to what's going on. Let's go and play Real Madrid while I sulk. So, Real Madrid in the European Super Cup. Important pre-match news. Modou Fall has signed his new contract. Highest earning player at the club on £130,000 a week. But it has stopped everyone else whining. I also can't remember if I mentioned, amazing news, Christian Arendt signed a new contract over the summer. The man's an idiot because he signed a new deal on £90,000 a week for 5 years with no annual wage increase. So that problem is gone. Yes, we've got 50% sell on. So if we sell him for £30 million again, we've got to give him 15 million of it. But I think that's a better deal than having to pay him 400 grand a week in a few years' time. So, yeah, his agent is a moron, but who cares? So we've now got both of our strikers tied down, long-term deals with no dodgy clauses in there. It's positive. What's Zabala happy about? Is he happy? So he's happy that Fall has signed his new contract, I guess. And this is the team that we're going to play against Real Madrid. Very little in the way of changes from the Bournemouth game. They were the two that we always knew we were going to make. So Walker-Peters comes in for the injured Will Leach. He'll be fit again in time for our next game. And Valverde is now fit enough to come into the side for Fritsche. So apart from Will Leach, that's pretty much my thoughts on a first choice team for this season now. Don't know how you think it looks. You'll see we've also got some other tactics that we've been fiddling with. That one I'm training up at the moment. We all like the look of that one, don't we? And then we've got this as well. So we're experimenting with a few different things in pre-season, but we're going to stick with the one that's worked so far, at least for the time being. But, I've got that 4-3-3 sat there all trained up now. So if the situation arises, just bring Martial on as well. Right, we're going to get absolute... We've not played a game of this magnitude yet. I know it's only the European Super Cup, but we're playing Real Madrid. We've experienced nothing like this ever. We're 13 seasons into non-league to legend. I've never played against a team as terrifying as Real Madrid. Even the board, their expectations for this tournament, which is apparently a tournament, their expectations are just that we don't get humiliated. Now, I'm not sure how much we can get away with losing by in order to still meet the board's expectations. But, we've only had 35% of the ball so far, so we're close to humiliation. But importantly, it's 0-0 at half-time. So if we can go and rob a goal, that would be ridiculous. And hopefully it will be enough for Real Madrid's manager to get sacked and for them to give me the job, which is what this is all about. Don't get yourself sent off, Lazarov. That's good. At what point do we just bring Lazio on and go 4-3-3? Because I'm itching to do it. But I know this is not the game to do it. To be honest, that's what we should have done against Bournemouth. I realise that now. But I'm looking at Valverde's fitness and thinking, Lazio or Fritsche to come on for him? Really, I think we can say at this point already we've not been humiliated today. So... is it the game to have a little try? See what happens? Oh, we haven't got Lazio on the bench! For goodness sake! Because he wasn't fit. I knew that as well. I hate the world sometimes. Right, so we're not going to do that today. All that build-up. No one thought to mention that? No? Not going to mention that to me? So we'll bring Fritsche on for Valverde, because he's struggling. And we'll bring... Mesidoro on for Chris because he was good when he came on the other day. We'll move the midfield around a little bit and that'll have to do for now. I cannot believe Lazio not on the bench. Ridiculous. Right, go on, let's go and steal a goal. Arendt's in here. Goal about to be stolen. Yes! 1-0 up against Real Madrid. Christian Arendt's first goal of the season. That is about as against the run of play as it is possible to get. But we have just mugged Real Madrid. Look at that's our front two combining there. They can play together. This is getting exciting. Right, we'll give it a couple of minutes and then we're going to go to the Diamond and drop Fritsche back. There you go, a couple of minutes have happened. With the Diamond, we've been training it with a standard mentality. So, my thinking is, we'd just do that. In fact, that's not what I was training. He was a half-back when we were training this. Hate it when stuff goes wrong. So we'll just do that. So all we've done is drop Fritsche back, just to give us that little bit of extra cover. But I'm thinking we actually go defensive. I know this is probably a stupid idea against Real Madrid. We don't need to be overlapping anymore. And we probably need to... No, not much more. Just more. That's what I want. So we'll do that. Should we go a bit more direct as well? There we go. So, can we hold on for 10 minutes against Real Madrid? Why didn't I make a substitution there? Let's waste some time now with a substitution. So we're going to bring Wilfred Thomas on for Modu Fall. There you go, Thomas. You get your game time that you were whinging about against Bournemouth. Right, there you go. Fritsche with an interception. Finds Mesidoro, who finds Fall. Yusuf should have done better with that, really. It looked like he couldn't get the ball out from under his feet, which is a shame. We're struggling for fitness here. Let's go contain now. We've only got to survive another couple of minutes. And this would be a famous victory. Have Real Madrid had a player sent off? When did that happen? Or was he just injured? They're attacking down this side where they apparently don't have any players. I see many white shirts there. So I'm not entirely sure that we believe what's happening here. They're going to score here, aren't they? Does this go to extra time? I hope not, because we've not got the fitness for it. There you go. Another trophy. We're going to have to buy a trophy cabinet at this rate. At the moment, we're just keeping them in my shed. But, you know, that can go right next to the Community Shield in Ipswich's greatest achievements. Let's see how excited the board have got about that. There you go. To complete the fairy tale journey for the team. Because we we want to jumped up pre-season friendly. Cool, we got nearly £3 million for that. Oh, I'm praised by the supporters, am I? Does that get me on your favoured person list? We'll have a look at that in a minute, but I'm distracted by this. Modou Fall is off the transfer list, everybody. That is important, but probably not as important as me being back on here. And yes, I'm back on the favoured personnel. They've forgiven me for all the job interviews. Forget the FA Cup, forget the UEFA Cup. All they wanted was to beat Real Madrid. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you pop a like on there for me. Let's get to 100 likes to celebrate the start of a new season and the start of our life as a Champions League club. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the rest of this awesome season and beyond. Make sure you let me know in the comments what an Inter Milan is, and thank you very much for watching.